Here a boy was cooking dinner for him and his husband while humming a song. After some time he finished cooking. Now he was waiting for his husband to come home so they can eat together. After waiting for some time, he heard the main door opening. He already knew who it was, so he went to him and took his bag. Then they both went to living room. His husband flopped on the couch as he was super tired. He went to kitchen to get some water for his husband. Then he gave the water to his husband. They, go and fresh up. I will serve the food. He nodded and went from there. After some time, now they both are eating. There was an awkward silence. None of them dared to speak anything. It is always like this. They were not shy, but they were little hesitant to speak. After some time, they finished their dinner. Taehyung went to their room and Jungkook went to do the dishes. After he is done, he went to their room. When he entered the room, he saw his husband sleeping peacefully. He smiled and went to bathroom to do his night routine. After that, he laid beside his husband. Some minutes later, he felt his husband's arm on his waist. He smiled and placed his arms on his husband's. It was usual for them. Then they slept peacefully. Let me introduce them to you. This is Kim Taehyung and Kim Jungkook. They are married for almost 8 months. Their marriage was an arranged marriage, and it was arranged by Taehyung's mother. Taehyung only had his mother. His father died when he was little. His mother struggled a lot as a single mother. His dad owned a company. After his death, she became the CEO. At first, it was very difficult for her. Even though she is busy, still she will find some time to spend with her son. He loved his mother so much. He knew how much she struggled for him and his company. Taehyung is called for everyone except his mom. After he is done with his studies, he became the CEO of their company. He had a lot of fangirls because of his handsome, but never dared to approach him because of his cold nature. They were living happily, but one day suddenly Mrs. Kim fainted. He immediately took her to hospital and the doctor said that she had cancer. She was on the second stage. He knew that it will be cured by treatment, but not for sure. He was broken at first, but when he heard that it can be cured, it really calmed him. She was admitted in the hospital for some months. Taehyung visited her every day. He was always there for her. He never let her do anything. When she was discharged, he took 1 month leave to take care of her. He took her to her favorite places. Both of them were so happy. After their vacation, he again took her to hospital for checkup. She was healing slowly. This news made him so happy, but she wasn't that much happy. So he asked her. At first, she hesitated, but later she told him that she wanted to see him marrying. First, he didn't agree to it, but then he eventually agreed to it because he didn't want to make her sad. She had already selected someone for him, which was Jungkook. About Jungkook, he was also from a rich family, but not that rich. He was a very kind to everyone. Anyone will fall for him because of his kindness and beauty. He had a sister and a brother. His dad also owned a company. Mrs. Kim met him in the hospital. He went there to accompany his friend. When his friend went to buy his medicine, he decided to walk. While he was walking, he saw Mrs. Kim sitting there on a bench alone. So he went to her and started talking. Mrs. Kim liked his presence. After talking for some time, he went from there. After that day, he started visiting her daily. She also liked his personality. After Taehyung agreed to this marriage, she decided to ask Jungkook's parents. They didn't had any problem. Jungkook didn't want to marry this fastly, so he told them to arrange a date. After meeting him, he will decide if he wants to marry or not. They agreed to it and arranged a date for them. They both fell in love with each other at first sight. Their dates went smoothly. They both agreed to this marriage. Jungkook knew about Taehyung's cold behavior. He didn't have any problem with that because he believed that he can change him. Both of their family was so happy. Taekook was also happy. Their marriage held in a beachside because Jungkook wanted to. After their marriage is done, they went to their house, which was gifted by both of their parents. Jungkook didn't know about Taehyung's habit of hugging something while sleeping. First, Jungkook was very nervous when he hugged him while sleeping. Now it is usual for them. Anyway, let's get back to the story. It was morning. Jungkook woke up when his alarm rings. He looked at his side to see Taehyung sleeping peacefully while hugging him. Jungkook stared at him for some time. Then he placed his hands on his cheeks and caressed it. His lips curved into a small smile, seeing his husband's angelic face. He always do that. He never get tired of admiring his husband while he is sleeping. He kissed his forehead and slowly removed Taehyung's hand from his waist, not wanting to wake him up. Then he stood up and went to bathroom to do his morning routine. After he is done, he went to kitchen to make breakfast for them. They didn't have any maids because Jungkook didn't want it to. Now he is done making breakfast, so he decided to wake his husband. He was about to go, but then he saw Taehyung coming downstairs, fully dressed up. Not gonna lie, he was looking handsome as hell. He was literally drooling over his husband. Taehyung noticed Jungkook's stares. When he looked at him, he saw Jungkook looking at him while smiling like an idiot. Taehyung tried to control his smile. He cleared his throat, and that's when Jungkook came to reality. He blushed, realizing that he was looking at Taehyung. He immediately went to kitchen. Taehyung let out a small chuckle. Then Jungkook served their breakfast and they started eating. After some time, now they are done eating and Taehyung was about to go but stopped and looked back. He saw Jungkook standing there with a small smile in his face. He went towards Jungkook and kissed his forehead and went to his office, leaving blushing Jungkook. It wasn't a new thing for them, but still Jungkook felt butterflies on his stomach and blushed whenever he kissed him. Even though Taehyung is cold, still he tried his best to not to show his cold side to Jungkook, and Jungkook was happy that he was changing. Still, they won't talk to each other that much. Time skips to afternoon. Jungkook was getting ready to go to Taehyung's office because he made lunch for Taehyung and he wanted to bring it to him and he also wanted to see him. After he is done, he went to kitchen and packed the lunch for both of them. Jungkook sometimes bring lunch to him and he also eat with him. Then he locked the house and he told his driver to drop him at Taehyung's company. After some time they reached there. One of the security opened the door for him. When he got out from the car, the securities bowed to him and he smiled at them. When he entered the company, everyone in there bowed to him. All of them know him because Jungkook had visited his company many times. He smiled to everyone and went to receptionist. He smiled at her and asked Jungkook, "Is Mr. Kim free now?" She smiled and bowed at him and checked if he is free or not. Receptionist, "Mr. Kim is free now. He is in his office. Now you can go and meet him." He smiled at her and went to his office. He knocked the door and heard, "Come in." He opened the door and went inside. Jungkook, "They." When he heard his husband's angelic voice, he immediately looked up to see Jungkook smiling at him. Taehyung smiled a little. Jungkook, "I made lunch for us. Come, let's eat." Taehyung nodded and went to couch. Jungkook served the dishes on the table and they started eating. While eating, Taehyung was glancing at Jungkook. When Jungkook looked at him, he immediately looked away. Jungkook smiled and continued eating. After some time, they finished They're eating and Jungkook was about to go to washroom. Suddenly his phone started ringing. It was Mrs. John. He picked up the call. Jungkook, hello ma, how are you? Mrs. John, I'm fine cook. Where are you now? Jungkook, I'm at office. Why? Mrs. John, come to this hospital quickly with a Taehyung. Jungkook, okay ma, but what happened? Mrs. John, when we were eating our lunch, Mrs. Kim's caretaker called me saying that she fainted and she admitted in this hospital. Come quickly. Jungkook immediately hung up the call. He turned to Taehyung. Taehyung was already looking at him. Jungkook, your mother is admitted in a hospital. His eyes widened. Without wasting any time, he went towards his car. Jungkook also followed him. Taehyung was so nervous that they both get into the car. Jungkook told him the name of the hospital and immediately went towards the hospital. Jungkook was looking at Taehyung time to time. He knew that how much he loves his mom. Sometime later, they reached the hospital. He immediately went towards the ICU. Doctors were still operating her. Taehyung was standing there while looking at the door of the ICU. Jungkook went to him and tapped his shoulder. Taehyung looked at him. Jungkook, hey, let's sit. She will be fine, okay? Don't worry. Taehyung nodded and sat there. Jungkook sat beside and intertwined their hands, slowly caressing it. After some hours, the doctor came out of ICU. Taehyung and Jungkook immediately went to him and asked Taehyung, Doctor, how is she? Doctor just sighed sadly while looking down and said, Doctor, I'm sorry, Mr. Kim. We couldn't save her. Taehyung couldn't believe his own ears. His mom, whom he loved with all of his heart, left him. His tears started flowing. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath and opened his eyes. He wanted to cry his heart out, but he didn't. Jungkook understood his situation. He put his hand on his shoulder. Then he immediately embraced him and said, Jungkook, cry. Just cry as much as you want. Taehyung cried his heart out in his embrace. Jungkook was also crying. Jungkook patted his back. Taehyung was crying badly. Jungkook was saying sweet words to him to calm him down, but nothing was working. So he broke the hug and cupped his face. His eyes were puffy. Jungkook kissed his forehead softly and asked, Jungkook, let's go and see mom for the last time. Taehyung shook his head, not wanting to see his mom for the last time because he knew that it will only break him more. Jungkook understood, so he told his parents to take care of the things here and went from there to their home. Taehyung was crying on the car. Jungkook was the one who drove. Taehyung was looking outside, still sobbing, and it hurted Jungkook. Jungkook caressed Taehyung's hand and focused on driving. After some time, they reached their house. Taekook went inside their house and directly went to their home. Jungkook went to change. While changing, he can hear the sobbing of Taehyung. He sighed and went to bed and laid beside Taehyung. His back was facing Jungkook. He tapped his shoulder. He looked at Jungkook. He was still sobbing. Jungkook, come here, he said as he opened his arms. Taehyung went near him. Jungkook hugged him. Taehyung snuggled into his chest, still sobbing. He couldn't stop crying. Jungkook caressed his back softly. Taehyung, mom always told me that she wanted to see her grandchild, but before she could see, she left me. And also she promised me that she will never leave me alone, but she broke her promise, he said in between his sobbing. Jungkook's eyes got teary when he heard his words. Jungkook, don't cry, okay? Do you think that she will be happy seeing you cry? Do you want her to be sad? No, right? Now stop crying. Finally, he calmed down, and after some time, Jungkook heard his good snoring. He looked at Taehyung, who was sleeping with a pout. His cheeks and nose were red. He literally looked like a baby. Jungkook pecked his cheeks and took a photo of him. Then he carefully got out from his crib, but he whined in sleep when Jungkook got up, so he put a pillow beside him. Then he again slept peacefully while hugging the pillow. He again picked his forehead and went downstairs to make dinner for them. After some time, he came to their room with dinner for Taehyung. He sat beside Taehyung and caressed his hair. He didn't want to wake him up, but he had to. Jungkook, Tae, wake up, let's have dinner. Taehyung just hummed and went to sleep again. After trying for some time, finally he woke up. Jungkook, go and wash your face, then let's have dinner. Taehyung shook his head. Taehyung, no, I don't want to eat anything. You can go and have your dinner. Jungkook sighed. Jungkook, if you are not going to eat, I won't eat. Taehyung, I don't feel like eating. Jungkook, you can go and eat, he said in his cold tone. Jungkook, I also don't feel like eating. Taehyung sighed, knowing that Jungkook won't eat until he eats, so he took the plate from Jungkook and started eating. Jungkook smiled, knowing that he cares for him, and they ate their food. After eating, Jungkook went downstairs and Taehyung laid on the bed. His eyes started filling with tears when he thought about his mother. He didn't want to cry, but he couldn't control himself. Then he heard the door opening. He immediately turned to the other side so that he can see him crying. Whenever he closed his eyes, his mom will appear in his mind. Because of that, he couldn't sleep. He was still crying. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his waist, and it was Jungkook's. Jungkook, I know you are crying. Don't need to hide it from me. He made Taehyung turn around. Taehyung also wrapped his hands around him. He was feeling peace in his arms. Jungkook started singing for him in his sweet voice. Soon they fell asleep in his arms. Jungkook looked at Taehyung, who was sleeping peacefully in his arms. Jungkook smiled and pecked his forehead and hugged him more tightly. Time skips to morning. Taehyung woke up from his sleep. He looked for Jungkook, but he wasn't there. Maybe he is in kitchen, he thought. Then he started thinking about yesterday. He smiled, remembering how Jungkook hugged him, how he sang a song for him. He pretended to sleep when he heard the door opening to know that what will he do. Jungkook came towards him and saw him sleeping. He smiled and sat beside him. He caressed his hair and stared at him. He was looking so cute while sleeping. He pecked his forehead and said, Jungkook, you must be really sad for mom's death, but don't worry, I will be there for you. Just don't hide your pains from me. Even if you don't want me to, I will be always there for you. He again pecked his forehead and cheeks and went from there. Taehyung opened his eyes. He touched his forehead and cheeks were Jungkook kissed him. He couldn't control his smile. He buried his face on his pillow, being all smiling. After some time, he went to the bathroom to do his morning routine. After that, he went downstairs and saw Jungkook cooking. He wanted to go to him and hug him, but he didn't. Then he went towards Jungkook and stood beside him. Jungkook looked at him. Jungkook, do you need something? No, I just come here to know if breakfast is ready or not. Jungkook, oh, just wait for some time. It will be ready. Taehyung nodded. He looked at Jungkook. His full attention was on cooking. Taehyung looked down nervously. Taehyung smiled. Do it, Taehyung. You can do it. Then he again looked at Jungkook. He immediately pecked his cheeks and went from there. Jungkook froze at his place. He blinked his eyes many times. Then he placed his hands on his cheeks and blushed. Then continued his cooking while smiling. Don't worry guys, it's not the ending. I will upload the second part soon. I hope you liked this video and thanks for watching.